Check, check. Check, check, check. Oh. Kitty says check, too. All right, chat. Let's do this. Yo, what up? What up? What up? How's it going? What up, everybody? Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. I am back. Sorry, I was gone for a little while there. I was on a cruise, and then the week after I got busy with stuff, so I wasn't able to stream. But I'm okay. I'm okay. I promise. I'm not dying, at least yet. Well, I mean, every day I'm dying a little bit, but you get the idea. How's it going? Welcome, everybody. Sally, how's it going? Good to see you. First person today. Sally the Goose. Hello, hello. I'll come too. What's up, dude? Yeah, thank you for reminding me about the YouTubes, by the way. We do stream on the YouTubes. So if you didn't know that, there is a live stream on the YouTube. If you'd rather watch it on YouTube, youtube.com/the Alta 4 stream. There's also no music on YouTube. So if you would rather not listen to my sweet tunes, which is your own issue. What's up, Vinny? How's it going, dude? Hello, hello. YouTube streams so much smoother than Twitch personally. Hey man, whatever works for you. I don't care. As long as you're here, I'm happy. I'll try and provide you the best experience I can. What's up, Vinny? How's it going, dude? Hello, hello. Execute order 66. What's up, Fester? How's it going, brother? Good to see you, man. Dude, you're so... I just want to say I appreciate you so much, dude. You're a very good friend, and I think that's something I appreciate a lot about you. What's up, Mo? How's it going? Good morning, evening, afternoon, whatever. Hello, hello. I want to build AI agents so I can sell them at ignorance. What's up, Lil Boo? How's it going? Hey, excuse my charisma. How's it going? Good morning. Good morning. Is it possible to attend a cruise and not get sick? Probably not. I mean, I got sick the last day of the cruise. So Sunday I was actually feeling kind of yucky myself, and so I ended up staying in that night. Yes, the last night of the cruise I stayed in. But I wasn't feeling good. But unfortunately, Dearsay got bronchitis from it. So that was a bit of a bummer. She's been not feeling super great. She's better now, but yeah, all last week she was basically out of commission, which sucked. I'm very glad she's feeling better. Check. Well, checkmate, bro. I win and end the stream. What? What's up, Cyrus? How's it going, dude? Rebuking. Hello as well. Welcome, everybody. Yes, don't worry. As I said before, we're not going anywhere. I just got a little busy. That's all. Today we're gonna be doing some AI stuff, though. Are those new glasses? Yes, they are. They are new glasses. These are my, I like to call these my Linus Torvald glasses. I'm in my Linus Torvald era. Are those new glasses not black? They're not. Yeah, actually neither of my glasses are black. So here, I guess you haven't been here for a minute, Orca. Hello. How's it going? Hey, good to see you, bud. Yeah, so about a month ago, I would say, like a month and a half ago, I got completely new glasses. I needed new prescriptions anyways, so I decided to swap up the vibe a little bit. To be fair, people don't normally call me black glasses. People either call me black or glasses, or they call me BG. So the black glasses isn't really something as much these days. Oh, Dearsay, thank you for the 84 months. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Which I guess at this point is just kind of like me paying myself, right? Sort of. I guess 50%. I don't know. Half from you, half from me. Thank you for the 84 months. He doesn't own black glasses. Reimburse all the subs. Right. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of known as just glasses or BG. A lot of people call me BG. So yeah, I had to do some tests yesterday and I just got an email about it, so I was like slightly tempted to click on it, and I was like, I'll look at it later. But isn't BG short for black glasses? Yes, it is. Yes, obviously it is. Yes. Anyways, let me show you really quickly if you haven't done it, if you haven't seen them yet. So I have to wear 2 pairs of glasses because I'm blind. Long story short, I have a problem with the focus. Like, the easiest way to put it is I have a problem with the focus ring in my eyes. I can look really far away and see, and I can look really close up and can see. But going from seeing something very, very close to seeing something very, very far away is very difficult for me. The transition of focus, it's like my focus ring is just broken. And so it takes me, like, it might take you like a second to shift from like something close to far away. It could take me up to 10 minutes. That's how bad it is. So I have to wear 2 pairs of glasses. I have to wear 2 pairs of glasses. I have to wear glasses for up close, which these are my up close glasses. These are my like working in front of the computer glasses, which I did decide to change. I've never had like completely circular glasses before. So I wanted to give it a shot and see what I thought. And I actually like them. I actually like them a lot. It's a completely different vibe. But then I also did get my distance glasses, which are these glasses. And so these are also not black. These are just clear as well. They look more like the glasses I used to wear. He's transitioning into being old. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, no. So, yo, Space Case, dude, thank you for the 18 months, dude. I appreciate it. Hey, thank you guys so much for the subbies and resubbies. Thank you guys. Good to see you. Happy Wednesday. But yeah, so I have to wear 2 pairs of glasses, long story short. And yeah, I have new glasses. Did you see they made a 4chan for the agents as well? I saw that they made a Reddit for it. Aw, you don't have to do that. Thank you for the 5 bits. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I didn't see they made one for 4chan. That seems like a terrible idea. 4chan is just gross. That's the easiest way to put it. I just think 4chan is just gross. Yo, Mo, dude, thank you so much for the 15 months, dude. I could barely see because like everything. Look, this UI is terrible, dude. Like, why can't I can see one message. There. Sorry, YouTube. I have to cover you for a second. Nobody's talking on YouTube anyways. Thank you for the 18 months, Space Case. I appreciate you. Did they make you pay up the butt for your glasses, or were they covered? Mine are covered. I'm very lucky that I have really good insurance pretty much across the board. So yeah, no, mine were covered. Both of my glasses were like $100 each, and one of them was actually like $50. And I have prisms, not in these, but excuse me, but in the other ones I was just wearing, those do have prisms in them. These have blue blocker in them for blue light or whatever. I don't know, but yeah. Dude, Mo, thank you for the 15 months, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. But no, I don't know. Like, I think that stuff's interesting. I think that stuff's pretty cool. But like, I'm very focused on AI for development. Like, I really am. And I will say, like, off air, I've been trying to up my LLM like agent coding game quite a bit, and I've seen some good results. So today is actually like, listen, I know that I don't know, like I kind of just like figure out what I'm gonna stream an hour before I do it most of the time. Today's gonna be a pretty good one if you're somebody who's into LLMs, or if you're even somebody who's not, and you're like, I don't get it. Like, how could you be productive with this shit? Like, how, or you're like, I want to be more productive with it. I find myself wanting to have more structure and like scale out more and stuff like that. Today's going to be kind of a fun stream for that, because that's what I've been focusing on lately. Like, how can I have an agent take on a very large task, break it down bit by bit, and actually achieve what I want without like freaking out and other things like that. So I'm going to show you guys like a lot of the stuff I've been working on behind the scenes. I think at some point I might open source some of these things. Maybe we'll see. I don't know if people want me to. We'll see. Are you doing the Wiggum Ralph? Oh, am I using Ralph? No, I'm not using Ralph yet. I'm somebody who likes to start at the lowest fundamental and then like slowly work up more and more and more and more. So like I would say like I first started with prompts, right? And just really starting to get a good understanding around prompts. You know what I mean? Like how to shape prompts, how to write them. And then like I was like, all right, now that I know prompts, let me start messing with tools. And so then I started learning like tools and how you can, you know, use prompts to activate tools and, you know, how you can build tools and all that kind of stuff. And now I've been going up even higher in the sense of like, okay, then I started learning about skills. And so I was like, okay, like what are skills? How can I build them? How can I like experiment with some of them? Right. And here, you know what? Let's do this. I'll actually draw this out for you guys so that you guys can get a better idea of what I'm talking about here. I should be logged in, right? Nice. Look at this. I can actually make new boards. Hell yeah. So let's say coding agents, right? So there's like many layers to coding agents, right? Like you have at the very, very, very lowest layer, you have your prompt, right? This is where everybody starts, right? You have the prompt, the thing that you want to say, right? Or you want it to do, right? And then once we started like realizing that prompts were enough, we started implementing other features, things like tools, right? And so your prompt then interacts with a tool, right? And that tool can go out and like make a database request or get data. Normally tools are meant for like fetching data or getting information, real-time information, right? It can be like, tools could be things like a browser, right? It can be a client of some kind, etc., right? So it could be like, it's going to go out on the internet and look at something, right? It's going to connect to something and get information about something. But when we first introduced LLMs, the model itself never changed, right? And so when you originally started working with LLMs, like, you know, a year or two ago, you would really just have like a prompt, right? And so this was a really great entryway into like getting started with LLMs, but LLMs didn't truly start like becoming versatile and powerful, in my opinion, until tools became available. Like LLMs were interesting, but it was really just about text here. But tools are what made it so that you could actually go out, get stuff live on the internet, right? Because if you just do a prompt with an LLM directly, you're only going to be able to use the model itself, like whatever's trained in the model at that given time. And that's why like this, if you guys remember, how many of you remember like how excited everybody else was to like see a new model? Like when we first started this crazy train, you know, it was like, oh, there's a new model. There's going to be new data. Oh, there's a new model. There's going to be a new data. But if you look at it now, we don't really care much about that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, sure. Like we're all excited about new models coming out and whatnot, but it's not as like, oh man, oh, by the way, mods, if you can snooze for me, I would appreciate it. It was like a big thing for every, thank you guys. It was like a big thing for every release because the problem at the time was that the model only had the data set around it was trained at that time that it was trained, right? So if you got a model, you'd probably get a model like 9 months training data before, which 9 months in the tech world is like a lot of time, right? So tools aim to solve that problem, right? Tools again aim to make it so that models almost had a little bit more like longevity, right? So their data wasn't so required for just doing all of the tasks, right? You could bring in dynamic data and then have a model that's built on top of a lot of specific data, right? Tool calls for reading and writing files was a big thing. Yeah, exactly. Speak for yourself. I'm hyped for Sonnet 5. I mean, I'm hyped for Sonnet 5 too. Don't get me wrong. I'm hyped for the models, you know, the new models as well. But I'm just simply pointing out that like we don't really talk about the things that we or focus on the things that we used to anymore because the models and the way that we're using them are evolving. Right. So originally, you know, when it was just prompts, again, we were super focused on like new models, new data, new models, new data. But now with tools, we're not really as worried about data, right? Models can pull in that recent data. So you don't have to be as worried like, well, how old is this? You know, how old is the data set in this model? It's like, you know, it can get a lot of it. So who knows what was next? I already said it, but after tools came what? Can anyone guess what came after tools? I don't know what this is. MCPs. Yeah, I mean, MCPs were probably like a big thing. Yeah. MCPs were like remote tools effectively, right? Because we started working with local tools, but then we started saying like, okay, now we want to make it so that MCPs allow it so that you can connect to remote servers. And then we created this whole protocol around it. Yo, what's up, Mosh? Thank you for the 34 months, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you, dude. And then this made it so like now tools not only can make local calls, but now they can make calls to, you know, servers and databases and, you know, platforms and all of this other crazy stuff, right? After MCPs, right, I would say yes, skills were the next thing. Can anyone describe to me in simplest terms what a skill is? What is a skill? Skills don't work. They do. You just have to know how to use them properly. I mean, wrote code to connect to the needed platforms. What's that? It's actually easier for an Elm to write code instead of connecting to MCPs. I mean, wrote code to connect to the needed platform. Oh, gotcha. A skill is a specific prompt around one thing. A library in the literal sense for your LLM. A skill is a reusable prompt in an MD file. It's a set of instructions, best practices that tells an AI how to do a task well. So you're all like in the same boat of what you're looking for, right? Think of a skill as like an individual task that you want the LLM to do. Right? Think of a skill as like saying like, I want you to do this one thing and here's all the parameters around how you do this one thing. Right? So I'm going to call them like a task. I think a task is probably the easiest way to relate to it right now. Right? Now I have written a couple of skills, so I'll give you an example of what I mean by how I use skilled. Right? It is kind of like an automated it's kind of like an automated make file almost in a way. It's like it just does it for you, right? So there's a couple of skills that I made. One of the first skills that I made was actually a very, very simple one. It was just a code review skill, right? And the whole point of writing this code review skill was to simply say like, this is how I want you to review code. Right? It's not necessarily an agent yet, which we'll talk about in a second, but it's just a very simple skill that's like, hey, this is how I want you to review code. This is how I want you to analyze it. This is how I want you to return the response of a review. And I'll show you guys that skill in a little bit, right? But reviewing code in this case would be a task, right? And so what I'm doing is in this skill, I'm telling the LLM, hey, when I tell you like to review some code, this is how I want you to do it. Right. I'm still experimenting with skills because I don't disagree that skills can also be very difficult to write well. And especially with what we're going to talk about next, it's hard to kind of understand like what should be a skill versus what should be something else. But I think the easiest way, at least for me to look at it, is like it's like a task. Another skill, for example, would be like, say you have a very specific way you have to do testing, right? But it's really annoying for you to have to like start the containers and then like, you know, like there's like 3 or 4 or 5 steps that you have to do every single time. technically you could write that into a bash script and just have it do the same thing every time, right? Or you could have it do it as a skill. The difference being one is code, right? And the other is prompt. And so I've been experimenting with that too, which is like, how can I avoid coding as much as just giving a reproducible prompt that will do the same thing I tell it to over and over again. And one of those examples is in Vorpal. I have to run like the test services, and then I want to run like an end-to-end test with it. Right now, realistically, like I could write a bash script that like does all that stuff and whatnot, but there's a couple of benefits to using LLMs in this approach. One of them is when you use a skill with like tools, for example, you can benefit from all of the features and all the ways that tools work. So what I mean by that is like if you write a skill that says like start services in the background, I don't know how many of you do this or you know, rely on this, but I've actually found myself relying on the agent actually starting the service itself and almost becoming like a process manager. Because I'll be like, hey, start the backend services for me, and then it'll go ahead and run the start command and then start. How does anybody else do that besides me? Does anybody else know what I'm even talking about here? Where like the agent itself will run the process for you in the background, and it can like manage like when it starts. And basically the agent can be a process manager. Does anyone know what I'm talking about? Yes, deploying Vercel, for example. Okay, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's possible. Here, let me show you an example. All right. Let me show you an example. So I already have a agents.md file and a claude.md file, which means that Claude kind of already knows what it is that I'm wanting it to do. So I'm going to say start the devs, start the services using the make file. I'll even make it simpler. I'll just say start the dev services. Let's see if it does that. Now, because I have a Claude file, it should, there it is. Yeah, make Vorpal start. There you go. So what's happening right now is it's going out and it's running make Vorpal start, which underneath the hood is just, look at this, service, run in background. This is now running in the background, right? So now what I could tell it to do if I wanted to is I could also be like, all right, now run another thing or run another thing. And it can run more things in the back. You basically can use it as a process manager. Now, obviously, once you close the agent, the processes die with it. So just be aware of that. But yeah, you can use it as a process manager. So now it's running this in the background, right? So I can be like, run dev tests with make Vorpal. Actually, I should have told it to run. I told it to start it, but I didn't tell it to run in the, or I didn't tell it to do it in the background. So let's say start the dev services in the background. There we go. There we go. So now they're running in the background. And what's kind of nice is like, you can check the status. It actually gives me a URL that, or a path that I can tail, right? Or I can just say like what services started. And you'll see here down at the bottom, you'll see make Vorpal start running. It actually is telling me that that process is running in the background. Right. And so now once I ask it what service started, you can see agent registry worker. Right. So I'm literally using Claude to start a starter process for servers. And then I can say like build Vorpal with make Vorpal. And now it's even going to run the tests as well in Claude. So I have the entire stack running effectively in this one process. Has anyone else like done this before? Does anyone else do this? And I could be like, check the build. So now the build's running in the background and the services are running in the background. Yeah. Yeah. This is the kind of shit you could do with Claude if you start getting a little creative with it. So nobody else has done this but me? Really? There's no way. Not yet. We're just picking up steam with cursor. Damn. Okay. Fair enough. Well, no, it's really good that I'm able to show you this then. I'm excited to be able to show you this. So this was like one of the first like tricks and like things that I learned about these coding agents that you can do, right? Is it like I understand now especially how like Adam and the others who are working on like open code work so quickly, because you like once you have like a basic reproducible structure of like how to run tests and how to do this and how to do that, the agent can really do all of those things for you, right? So to go back to this, right, we have our prompt, which is our initial like instructions, right? Then we have our tools, which sat on top of our prompt, which gave us like the ability to have like, you know, browsers, clients, etc., right? And then we had MCPs, which allowed us to have remote tools, meaning that now a prompt could not just use tools locally, but they could also have remote servers that they communicate with and bring in even more data, right? So again, local data, now remote data. Now LLMs are getting pretty powerful, right? And so like we said, like, okay, cool, LLMs are getting pretty powerful. That's super dope. Now let's add skills, right? And again, skills are really in my mind like tasks. Like I want you to do this one specific thing, right? Now I showed you guys how you can have a LLM or like Claude Code or something like coding agent basically like start processes in the background and run commands for you and stuff like that. If you can do that, then technically you can also, for example, have a skill that does multiple of those things, right? And so what I did, for example, is even though I can open up the agent and just say like, hey, start the backend services and then run the tests, I can go even one step further and I can actually make a skill that I can use in Claude so that now it kind of basically becomes like a command. And so you'll see in here when I hit / in the prompt, you'll see I've got like code review, and then you'll see I've got something that says like end-to-end test and like SDK parity. These are skills that I wrote that are specifically designed to achieve specific tasks, right? Like I want to make it so that I can do end-to-end tests with Claude, and I want to be able to check the SDK parity, for example. That one's a little tough. So let me give you a better example. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to say stop all background services. We only have a handful of approved MCPs, so they're still validating them. I mean, listen, dude, here's my honest thought on that. Don't wait until your companies adopt these things to start using them. It's getting better. It's getting better. For me, that was like the milestone of like, is this going to be worthwhile or not? Is like, if the technology keeps growing and evolving and improving to where it's like actually practical, it's getting better. I genuinely would recommend anybody who can, like, you know, if you can get like $20 a month and throw it at like a, you know, at a Claude subscription, or get an OpenAI subscription, whatever, like get yourself a subscription with one of these companies so that you have a good amount of like ability to do things with programming and just start working with it. Like that, I genuinely do think that if you don't start soon, you are probably going to get left in the dust, because again, we're starting to really build a foundation blocks here, right? Like again, prompts and tools and MCPs and skills, right? Like these are all things that are now becoming like the cloud components, where like you got to understand this, and you got to understand this, and you got to understand this, and you got to understand, you know what I mean, before you really like get the whole thing, right? So let me give you a better example about a skill, but this time I'm going to show you a skill that I actually wrote, right? So Claude, and I will say this, I'm gonna mostly be using Claude. If you guys are like, oh, what about open code? What about open code? I've used open code. I really like it. I think it's a really, really pretty tool. And I think that they've got really, really good feature parity, as well as, you know, making it so that you can use any model you want. I think that's super dope. However, I use Claude specifically, like I use Claude, like not specifically, I use Claude exclusively. I don't really program with other models. I have no real desire to. Claude has been like the thing that has really been powerful for me. So unfortunately, because Anthropic's giving open code the middle finger right now and being like, hey, we don't really want you connecting your client to our servers, you can't always guarantee you're going to be able to use Claude and open code right now. It sucks. I'm sorry to put that out there because I love the guys who are building it. Again, Adam is like a dear like friend of mine. I think he's wonderful. But it's just hard, dude. It's really hard, especially when like I don't want to worry about getting errors of like this API key is meant to be used with Claude. It's just it breaks the flow a lot. So I'm specifically going to be using Claude code today just because, again, I use Claude. But you can pretty much do all of these same things with open code as well. So if you're interested in open code and you use other models or you want to try other models, like, go for it. But okay, let me load a skill really quickly. So again, earlier I showed you guys how you can just like open up Claude and tell it to like start some backend services in the background and then run some tests. Like basically you can tell it to do what you do, right? But let me show you what that looks like now as a skill. Now I want to be clear, I did not write this skill. All right. Another thing I've been trying to do is I've been trying to do as much like generative work as possible, meaning like if I have to write something that is more than the size of a small prompt, I'm probably going to get AI to generate it for me right now. And this is just completely experimental. This is just me like experimenting and seeing like how good is it that you can like start building a whole foundation of generative stuff on top of generative stuff before it just becomes like slop. So it's a lot of testing, but again, earlier I showed you guys how I can run background processes and basically achieve end-to-end testing with Claude, right? And I'll do it one more time just to show you guys, right? So the first prompt I gave it was start the dev services in the background, which again started the dev services in the background and then gave me the ability to you know, go back to a prompt. And then once it started the dev services, I told it to build Vorpal with make Vorpal. This is effectively an end-to-end test, right? This makes it so that it starts the services in the background and then it uses the client to actually build Vorpal from scratch using Vorpal, right? So this is a quintessential end-to-end test, at least for Vorpal, right? So what does that look like as a skill? Like I said, or like we were saying before, skills are markdown, right? They're basic markdown files at the end of the day. And you can have multiple markdowns if you want, from what I know. I just use one for skills because at least that's how I've seen a lot of people do it. But from what I know, I think you can put them in folders. I don't know. Anyways, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to give the agent the skill of being able to run end-to-end tests and know how to run end-to-end tests, right? So I named it end-to-end test. I gave it a description. Now, one thing to note about the description is the context that the prompt triggers. So if you don't have something in a description and you're like, oh, why isn't my prompt triggering it? It's quite possible that your description isn't giving a good enough of a relative description to trigger this skill. Meaning you might have to like say use this skill manually in the prompt rather than just saying like, you know, run end-to-end test, right? However, skills also become commands in Claude as well. So that's another thing to note is when you call it like end-to-end test, that actually becomes a command in Claude. Yes. I guess I was doing something else with Claude. But you'll see here like code, if I do /, you'll see I've got code review, right? That's because that is a skill that is available that I wrote. So that is another thing that's kind of nice about these skills is they basically become commands inside of Claude that you can run. right? And I'll show you like how that works in a second. So I give it a description, and then I tell it what tools it's allowed to use. Like it can use bash, read, glob, grep, some other stuff. And then we get into the actual meat of the skill and what it does, right? So we say, okay, end-to-end test skill, run end-to-end tests to validate that Vorpal services start correctly and we can successfully build artifacts. We give it like a test flow to tell it like how it build or how to build it, right? Build the project, start backend, wait for services, run artifact build, stop all services, and then report results, right? So this is, once we start writing the skill, this is like the first thing we tell it. Now, I have no idea how big or small or how complex or not complex a skill should be, which is another reason why I used Claude to generate this skill and help me write it, because I had no idea. Like, I don't know what the hell an LLM wants in order to achieve the skill the right way every time, right? But effectively, this skill kind of breaks down the test flow. It gives it execution instructions telling it like, okay, here, like it's very, 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 very literal, right? And it really tries to break down every step as much as possible so that the LLM really can't get confused around any process along the way, right? And so that's kind of the main takeaway that I got from this, which again, I did not write this skill. This was a skill that got generated by Claude. Claude helped me write this skill. And I can even show you guys like how you can use Claude to help you guys write skills in a second. But yeah, this was entirely generated by Claude. And again, it has like a test flow, which gives it like a high level of like what you're supposed to do. And then it kind of goes through each one of those steps individually to tell it in detail, like, okay, which of, you know, how you do each step basically, right? And then at the end here we have arguments. Now this is kind of nice because again, Claude allows you to use skills as like CLI commands almost. So if I open up Claude here and then I do /, you can see I have code review. That's a skill that I wrote, right? That now I can use as an actual like command if I don't want to necessarily like trigger it in a prompt, right? So in this case, it's saying, hey, the skill accepts an optional artifact name. The default is Vorpal shell, right? So I want you guys to kind of think about this for a second. Up until now, you'd be more than likely writing a bash script, right? Like that's what you'd be doing. You'd be writing a bash script that goes through all of these processes step by step. And then you'd run that bash script over and over, right? A good example of like how we're translating these scripts to prompts and skills and stuff like that is kind of what you see right here. If I wanted to make it so that the skill used a different artifact as the default in code, right? I would like make a default variable and blah, blah, blah. But in a prompt, I just tell it, hey, you know what? The default is Vorpal. Right, which is actually what I want. I'd rather it run Vorpal by default rather than Vorpal shell. Now that I've changed that, if I reload my code or reload Claude and use that skill, we should then be able to see that it will use Vorpal instead of Vorpal shell. So like, you know, is it code? No, but there's still like that same nuance of like, here's how it should work and here's how you should do this if this case. Like you still have like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like you still have like if statements and things like that you have to write, you know. It even gives it like troubleshooting. So for example, if it tries to start the services and the port's in use, right, it says, okay, go ahead and kill anything that's running, right? Build fails and services crashes, stuff like that, right? All that's there now. So I didn't just like make a bash command. What I did was I said like, hey, this is a skill I want you to be able to have. And when you run this or work with this skill, I want you to also understand like the expectations around it, like what happens if it fails. And that's a little bit more nuanced than just a shell script, right? So now what I can do is I can open up Claude. And if I do /, there it is right there, end-to-end test, that's my skill. Right? If I hit tab, it'll auto-complete it for me. Now we said that if I just run it without an argument, it should run a build on Vorpal. So let's do that. So I'll just hit /end-to-end test. And there you go. It's read the skill file, it's loaded the skill, and it's immediately gone, okay, cool. I'll run end-to-end test to validate Vorpal services and client builds. And there you go. Now it's going through that entire process step by step, right? So yes, this could be a shell script for all of you nerds out there who are pushing it hardcore against LLMs and I could write this all myself. That's cool, but I've been literally hosting a stream and educating while doing this simultaneously. It's not about if you can do it or not. It's about the ease of it. And like now this is easy. Like, you know, I didn't have to write any code. I was able to go in and just update a prompt, and now it's able to actually, you know, go through this bit by bit. But the LLM can decide to run end to end when it wants. So you can tell skills to not load or load. And yes, you're absolutely right. It in the case where it made a big change, it might decide to run end to end tests. Yeah, you know, and honestly, like that's a total preference. I'm fine with it because I'm probably going to have to at some point, you know. But I don't know. Like I don't have any problems with it. You know what I mean? It normally will also tell you before it's going to do something like that. And skills can contain scripts you or the LLM can run to. Yes, yeah, skills can be a lot more advanced than what I'm showing you right now. Like skills can be attached to actual scripts that the LLMs use. You're absolutely right. I'm showing you like a very simple, just like out of the box, like, you know, here's my code and here's how I want to start using AI to like make my development experience easier, right? You have room 40 skills. What? I don't know what that is. But yes, you can do a lot more with skills. So I think now you guys probably have a good understanding of prompts, tools, MCPs. Oh my God, I fucking hate you, Mosh. And now skills, right? So what's after skills? What's the next thing after skills, chat? What's the next thing after skills? Agents? Neuralink. Neuralink. Just plugged straight into the fucking brain. Memory? Agents. Agents in our brain, please. So memory, I would say memory is more of like a passive feature, right? Like memory is just something you kind of like benefit from. It's not something you use, right? So definitely memory, including memory and kind of wrapping it around all of this is pretty powerful. But just remember, like, you can't really use memory, right? Like you can't say like, I want to grab this memory and then do that, right? So yes, absolutely. Memory is something to highly note in here, which is LLMs were able to start, you know, collecting information and referencing information from the past. But the next one that I would say is yeah, what a few of you already said, which is agents, right? So we talked about prompts, we talked about tools, we talked about MCPs, we talked about skills. What are agents, chat? Can anyone tell me what an agent is? If a tool, or I'm sorry, not a tool, if a skill is a task, what is an agent? Can anyone tell me? Just so you know, these are kind of just ordered in the like these like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is just more of like when they came out, right? So like we had prompts first, and then we had tools, and then we had MPCs, then we had skills, and then now we have agents. What's up, Valdez? How's it going, dude? Agents allow context forking for context management. I would put skills just below. Oh, I already read that. What's up, by the way? Can you give a short intro about what you are doing? Yeah, so I'm for starters, I'm just kind of setting a baseline of like what people know, right? We are going to be doing some AI work, but before I can do that, and so that you guys understand like what I'm doing and how I'm like using and creating my you know, my like LLM workflow and environment, right? I'm kind of like breaking down how I got to where I am, right? So right now I'm kind of giving you an example of like how I went through every single one of these pieces to eventually get an understanding of like how they worked best for me, and how I could use them in my day-to-day flow, right? So I first started with prompts, which was just like simple instructions, right? Then tools came out and I started learning about tools and how like agents or LLMs can like trigger tools, right? Early tools. I'm not talking about MCPs or stuff like that. That came later, which is what we've got here, but like early tools, right? And then we got MCPs, which made it so that now tools are remote and agents can like make remote calls, right? All that stuff. We got skills, which eventually became like, hey, you know, I want to be able to give an LLM or a coding agent like a specific task that it can do over and over and over. And that's exactly what we saw here, right? I wrote a task called, or I wrote a skill called end-to-end test. And in this end-to-end test, it basically does everything that I would to do end-to-end test. It starts the back-end services, it picks an artifact to build, it then runs that in another shell, you know, checks all the environment logs and everything to make sure everything ran properly. And then it gives me exactly what you see here, which is like a end-to-end passed, right? And so you'll see here, here's my summary. You'll see, I get to see like even all the versions and stuff. And like, yeah, like I could make a shell script out of this. Absolutely. But, you know, I have one pretty detailed markdown file that now I can share between any LLM, you know, any coding agent that basically works with skills. So, yeah, skills are pretty cool, right? So once we got, you know, once I started working with skills, I then started working with agents. And so that's when I was asking you guys, what are agents? Agents allow context forking for context management. Yeah, I mean, that's a really like advanced way of putting it. Try and dumb it down to something simpler though. Like explain agents to me like I'm 5. Can anyone explain agents to me like I'm 5? We had agents way before, at least at it, Devin, for example. So you're talking about a different agent. Technically, these aren't agents. These are sub-agents. That's what these are technically called, sub-agents, right? And I would say this is more so like specifically focused around like the Claude ecosystem, right? Like this is really like the Claude code experience. Maybe that's kind of a better way to look at this, right? Or, you know, coding agents, right? Because a coding agent is an agent as well, technically. What I'm talking about specifically is like how our development experience has changed, right? Sorry, I think that'll probably make a little bit more sense. Oh my God, Orga. And then you put it all in the global config, hand it to your APIs, and book. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Agents will reason, plan, and execute multiple tasks and also have memory. Yeah, so this is agents or you know, sub-agents is what they technically are called, right? They are effectively this context or this idea of like, I want to take the normal LLM context window and I want to shape it in a very specific way so that when I give prompts to this specific like sub agent, right, it won't just be the like me opening up Claude and being like, you know, start working with this. It'll actually be like opening up Claude, loading in a bunch of like like characteristic specific things about how the model should work, right? And then executing your prompts based off of those heuristics, right? So an example of this is agents in a lot of ways are like, you know, I would say maybe like actors, maybe is like a good word for it, right? But the idea is like, you can have an agent for like project management, and that agent will never touch code. Like inside of that sub agent or inside of that sub agent description, you can be like, hey, you don't write any code. You do absolutely nothing code related. I want you to just review this and then give me feedback, right? So that's why I call them like actors, right? Because they have specific roles or specific like reasons as to why you're giving those context windows. And what's really cool is sub agents can use skills, which then use MCPs and tools, and goes down the entire stack effectively. So again, an example is like if I want a project manager or like a staff engineer or something like that, if I want those as like actors to where like I'm not just telling it like, hey, I want you to look at this code. I'm telling it, hey, I want you to look at this code from this specific perspective. So what does that look like? I can show you. So if I open up Claude really quickly, I have my skills, right? My project skills, end-to-end test, SDK parity, and then I have my code review and my commit skills, which are available at the global level, right? Let me do agents. And you'll see in here, I have a project manager and a staff engineer, but then I also have bash, general purpose, status line setup, explorer, blah, 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 right? So I basically have all of the built-in stuff. And then I have two of my own agents that I made, a project manager and a staff engineer. I'll explain why I did that more in a second, but trust me, there's reasoning for it, and it actually makes a lot of sense. So what ends up happening is the two different agents that I have, the project manager and the staff engineer, have specific like goals in their context that they have. What do you guys think the project is? So Lil Boo, right? You're saying, why would you want a project manager for? You tell me why you think I would want to put a project manager into it. I basically replaced my boss with an agent. Why do you think I would want to? Why do you think I would want to do that? Masochism? No, not masochism. No. Hey, just got an idea. What about multiple actors, agents, and have a central agent actor to call agents depending on a task? Don't sure. So Pranesh, that's the thing is like we're already experimenting in this world. This is like what Ralph is for, as well as some other like agent orchestrators. Believe it or not, I've thought about building one for fun myself. And if anybody else wants to, I mean, hey, why not? You could. I don't know of anything that's like really well built yet to where I would use it constantly. I would say the closest thing is probably Ralph. But I don't think Ralph is the answer yet. I think Ralph is like our first step to that, right? Why stop at staff engineer? Why not principal engineer or distinguished engineer? Because principal engineer and distinguished engineer don't necessarily mean that you're smarter. They just have different jobs. And I really want, there's a specific reason why I have just these two roles. I promise you. And it will make sense in a second. Denzel, thank you for the 14 months, brother. I appreciate you, dude. Replacing the boss. Smart move. Yeah. PM is vision, roadmap, planning, decision making. SE is for technical stuff like architecture, strategy, maybe even mentoring other AI agents. Yeah, so Mosh kind of nailed it directly on the head. Yeah. How many of you have effectively built like really big things with Claude or other coding agents, and then like it eventually just becomes mush, right? How many of you have done that where it's like as it progresses through the project more and more, like it starts to like learn or do less, and the code quality starts getting less and less? Like I'm talking about something where like an agent's working for like an hour, right? Like how many of you have told it like, hey, from scratch build this entire project, and by the time you're towards the end of it, it's just like a barely working thing? Because it's like what ends up happening is this is a problem. Who here knows about the context window problem? Like the real like context window problem when it comes with like long term projects, like having it work for like hours and hours. Compaction equals loss of information. Just came from context window problem. Okay, so yeah, exactly. Compaction equals a loss of information. Always want to clear the window context. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So there's a problem that we do have right now with coding agents and stuff like that, which is effectively around the context window. Realistically, every LLM has like 200,000 tokens that they can keep at any given time in their context window or something like that, right? That means that technically an LLM can only think this much or remember this much, right? After it's this much, it starts to like forgetting things. And compaction is like a way that we kind of work around this. And the idea is like, say this is your context window, this amount here. And say you fill up that whole context window from end to end, right? Well, what we do is we say like, all right, we're going to take all of this context window, we're going to squish it down. And we're going to squish it down to like 10% of the context window. And it will have a compact like description of all of the context window it was before. So now this 100, like all of this information that was in this 150, 200,000 K window, right, has now gotten squished down into 10% of its data, right? And so now the rest of the work must remember or only be able to remember 10% of what it remembered before effectively. That's kind of the easiest way to describe context windows, right? And so we are trying to find ways of solving for this. And one of those ways is the clearing the context approach effectively. And that's kind of what I do with these agents. At a very, very high level, I have a project manager which actually like creates real tickets for everything. And then I run a staff engineer agent per ticket. And then when it's done with that ticket, the context window gets cleared and then it works on the next ticket. This is very, very, very kind of like new and something that like I personally have just been experimenting with myself. And to be fair, like I'm still like trying to see how good it works, but there's a project out there, I'll share it with you guys, called Beads. And Beads is effectively a task management system for LLMs. So the idea is that you install Beads into your project with your that gives it all the instructions on like how to actually use, and I'll show you guys this in a second and like how it really works, but it effectively tells the agent everything and how to use and create like epics, tasks, subtasks, but effectively it shows the agent how to manage all of the tasks needed for a much larger context, right? And effectively what it allows you to do is it allows the agent or the coding agent to create these tasks and then reference them later after clearing the context window. And so that's why I have a project manager and a staff engineer. The reason is because if we go to, let's go to agents really quickly. So I'm going to go up to the highest level. We taught agents how to use Agile. Pretty much. I pretty much taught agents how to use Agile, yes. If we go to Claude and agents, you'll see that I have two MDs, a project manager and a staff engineer. So just like the skills, right? Remember how we have skills and those skills have like directories, right? Files of markdown, so do agents. Right, so it's all markdown. Everything is markdown, right? Skills, markdown, right? Agents, markdown, right? So let's look at this project manager first. So I called this agent project manager, and I gave it a very long description, but the description is basically, hey, you are a technical project manager that breaks down problems and tasks into well-structured Beads issues for staff engineer agents to execute. Must be used proactively when the user describes a problem, feature request, project migration, or any body of work that needs to be planned and decomposed before execution begins. This agent only plans. It creates epics, tasks, dependencies, and priorities in beads. It never writes code or edits source files. It delegates all the technical investigating, code-based exploration, and feasibility questions to the staff engineer agent. After planning, staff engineer agent picks up the ready work and to execute it. So again, like it's kind of weird to be doing this. Like it is weird. Like, don't get me wrong, it's kind of like scientific, like sci-fi, like futuristic sci-fi to be like, you know, I want this agent to execute this, but that's really what I'm telling it to do. I'm basically rebuilding a software engineering team in Claude, where I'm saying, like, you know, this is my project manager, this is my staff engineer, and I want these two to like play together effectively. So after that, we have a bunch of like, you know, more parameters around it. It talks about like how to work with the staff engineering agent, right? When to delegate work to the staff engineering agent, how to use the staff engineer's input, right? Core responsibilities, right? Like it basically is the breakdown of a job effectively. And that maybe that's the easiest way to put it is like, you can almost think of these agents as like job applications. Like it says what it does and how it's supposed to work and the parameters that it's supposed to stay in and stay out of, right? And that, again, that's really what this kind of feels right like. If we go to staff engineer, right? Staff engineer is effectively the same thing, but in a different, again, context or perspective, which if the project manager is focused on technical project management and stuff like that, the staff engineer is going to be entirely about expertise and execution, right? So you'll see here, staff level software engineer with deep expertise across architectures, code quality, system design, and cross-cutting concerns must be used proactively for all feature development, code changes, bug fixes, whatever, right? So again, project manager proactively when solving problems and stuff like that, staff engineer when actually executing the solving of those problems, right? Operator operates at a senior technical leader who plans everything using beads issue tracker before executing, creates epics and issues for all the work, then executes the task in dependency order. This might even be something that I could change because I had the staff engineer agent before I made the project manager agent. But now that I have the project manager agent, I could technically change the staff engineer to be like, well, instead of making your own tickets, take all the tickets from the project manager, right? I could totally do that. There's absolutely no reason why I couldn't do that. And so again, you can see here, it just outlines like how to do issues, how to like figure or how to do tasks and how to work on them. Yeah. And this is only like 300 lines of code, right? Or lines technically. So, you know, it would be very difficult to kind of reproduce this in text. So 300 lines isn't really that bad at the end of the day. Our brains kind of work the same. I reckon I'm doing something similar. I'm using Opus for all the planning and then have it implement small packages with Haiku, and it works very well for now. There's absolutely no reason for Claude not to do it. Yeah. Yeah, like you've nailed it on the head. That's literally how I'm doing it as well. I am effectively telling it to plan out the work and then it does the work after it with a different agent. So let's do that. Let me kind of show you what that looks like so you can get an idea of, you know, how the planning and like how the handoff and everything works. I'm trying to think of something I can tell Claude to do that I don't really want it to keep, that I can also like create tasks with. So if you've never used beads before, I highly recommend checking it out. Like I said, this is really the how the agent creates tasks. I would imagine you could create your own beads. You know what I mean? Like I would imagine like the way it like creates issue, like, or, you know, maybe beads could even literally be integrated directly with like Jira and stuff like that. I have no idea, right? But this is just like what I'm using for now, and it works pretty well. But I would imagine technically beads could be any kind of issue tracking system that you want. The main point here is that the agents are using the issue tracking system as context rather than just the context window itself, right? So let me see if I can like what is something I can add to Vorpal really quickly, because I don't want it to like chew on it for too long, but I want it to I will look into it. My current workflow is having the agents item with specialized sub agent for PM that uses a linear MCP server. Yeah, there you go. You could totally use linear. I don't see any reason why you couldn't. Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do Claude, and then I'm gonna say use the project manager to update all packages within SDKs. Or I will say to plan updating all packages within SDKs. There we go. So I'm going to tell it to use the project manager. Now I'm kind of like, you can kind of think of me as like business, right? Like if you were to kind of like think of like the roles, right? I am the business. So I'm basically telling the project manager, hey, as business, we need to make sure all the packages are updated within the SDKs, right? Now, it should take what I just told it and create a whole bunch of tickets with it. You can even add project manager to use it directly. Yeah, you're not wrong. Here, let me do that. Let's do that. To make it feel a little bit more like, you know, like the actual, like you're actually talking to something, right? Project manager. Oh. Plan updating all SDK dependencies. There we go. Bam. You'll know when an agent is running because it'll normally look like this. It'll normally have like the name and then your prompt, or the prompt that it gives the project manager in like a little like argument almost, right? So now what it's doing is it's looking through all the code. It's like understanding stuff, right? I'll just say yes to that. You can always run that. Is anybody else deving? Like, is anybody else, any of this stuff making sense? Or like, give me a 1 in chat if all of this is new to you. Give me a 1 in chat if all of this is new to you. Let's do that. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. 67. Nice. Thank you for contributing, Denzel. Fairly new, started last week. Now's a good time to get in on it. I wrote an entire Hightail RPG survival mod. Nice. 7.5, some familiarity, but not much. Okay, cool. I mean, that's good. I'm glad that I could share this stuff with you guys. Do you guys find this interesting? Like, are you guys finding this interesting? Learning any new interesting techniques? What's up, Penguin Airlines? How's it going? So right now I'm using the project manager agent to set up tasks for the staff engineer agent to actually work on. Now, I know a lot about this repo, right? Like I know a lot about this repo. So it's very easy for me to go in there and just update them myself, right? Like that's easy. I could do, like, this is a very, very easy task. I could probably be faster than the approach that I'm doing with LLMs, right? So that's something else to notice. Is like realistically what I'm doing right now is just I'm actually having the LLM work on a very simple task to kind of prove that, you know, I can use these agents as actors, right? And that's kind of what we were talking about before. If we look back at our like coding agent, you know, foundations, we have prompts, which use tools and MCPs, and then prompts that also can use skills, which use tools and MCPs. But not only that, but we can use prompts that use subagents that use skills that use MCPs that use tools, right? And so I made a subagent or an actor, right? That is a project manager, right? Which is going to, you'll see here now it's even, and here's what's also really nice about this. It even knows how to set up dependencies, right? So now it's telling me, hey, I want to link these dependencies together so that it knows how to do everything. And there you go. Now it's creating all the tickets. 732 Jira issues later. I have, like, you know what? I actually don't mind it. If it means that more of the context is in the issues and not in the context window, it's fine. Like, it's totally fine. I'm 100% fine with it. I gotta add these. Doing some dynamic Lambda and GHA stuff this sprint. Nice. DynamoDB, nice. Going well. Got some ECS and IAM work on my plate today. Oh, good luck with the IAM work stuff. I never like working with IAM. IAM just sucks. Yes. Okay, so at this point, it probably has created all the issues and everything, right? I would imagine it's created all the issues and everything. 1 second, chat. Where are you? There you are. There we go. All right, sorry about that. Okay, so what did we get? Right? So again, what did I tell the agent to do? I said, hey, you're a project manager, right? I want you to plan out upgrading all the SDKs inside of the or all the dependencies inside of the SDKs. So it says the project manager has created a comprehensive plan in beads with 16 issues organized into a clear hierarchy. Now let's be clear. Again, I probably would not need 16 issues just to update all the stuff in these two SDKs, right? However, what's kind of neat about this is I know there's a few gotchas in these updates. Like one of them, I don't think it's going to be able to, right? Yeah, but your PM needs them. Yeah, exactly. But it is kind of interesting to see that how it's sectioned off the code, right? So it created 2 epics. Phase 1, Rust dependency updates, and then phase 2, Go dependency updates. And so you'll see here in Rust updates, it does the core updates, gRPC stack, AWS SDK, HTTP OAuth, async compression, CLI. This is the one I think it's going to get messed up on, the HTTP OAuth, because there's an open ticket right now where the newest version of OAuth 2 doesn't support request. So this is, you know, I'm actually very curious to see what happens with this one. But everything else should update pretty fine. But your PM, yeah. Product managers are paid by tickets, yeah. And then you can see here, Go dependencies. We've really got 2 tickets here, right? Testing and verification, update cargo.lock, run cargo test suites, Go verification. Yeah, so these look good, right? Like these all look good. Right? How many story points is that? I don't know. It doesn't include story points or Buchan, so. But this looks good. Now, I'm going to close out a Claude really quickly, and I'm just going to do BD list. So this is the beads part. Remember, I was sharing with you guys beads. Beads is effectively a CLI tool that allows coding agents, to create tickets. You can interact with these tickets. So again, if I do BD list, like I now can see all of the tickets. I can create my own tickets if I want. Like if I want to create my own tickets and then just tell the agent, hey, you know, work on this ticket, I can. What's really cool about beads is that it's a really nice interface of, again, context to the tasks that you want. So you can kind of like plan everything out, clear your context window, and then start working on these bit by bit, right? So now I'm going to open up Claude again, right? And then I'm just going to say, hey, at staff engineer, work on the most available ticket, then stop, right? And then I'm just going to hit that. So now what it's going to do is I have a completely new clear context window. It's going to run BD ready, right? To get the most highly available, like basically the ticket that is most readily available to be worked on. And then it's going to go ahead and start working through the stuff. And that's how these two agents work together, right? The planning or the project agent takes care of all the planning, right? What defines ready for the tickets? If they don't have any dependencies, probably, I would imagine. Because I have seen the agent actually check to see like if it has tickets or not. You know what I mean? Don't worry about the GitHub PR. Just work on the feeds ticket. I am confusing it slightly because I have stuff open, so I'm just gonna tell it, hey, focus on the beads ticket. Don't do that. But yeah, that's it. I think beads has like a BD ready command or something like that. And so if you do BD ready, it'll just give you the most available ready ticket. Yeah, BD ready. I don't know if BD ready also assigns it, so I don't want to do that. But if I go back to BD list, you'll see that this little guy here has like a little like colorized circle, right? That means that this issue is currently being worked on. Now, like realistically, if I wanted to, I could probably fire off more agents, right? Like this agent's working on this, right? Let's try that. Let's forget some shiggles. Let's try it. So I'm going to open up Claude again. And then I'm going to say, work on the most available ticket again, then stop. So now I have two agents working on two different tickets, right? And if I wanted to, I could say, allow all edits or continue. Yeah, fuck it. Why not? We'll just do it. We'll just go hardcore, right? So again, the project manager created all of these tickets with beads, right? So if I do BD list, we can see all of these, right? And now we're working through them. So I should see the other ones start being worked on in a second here. Do you have a way to run them in the same CLI or being launched directly by the PM? Yeah, you can. The PM can easily launch them. The problem is just clearing the context window is a manual thing. That's the real challenge there, is that clearing the context window is just a manual thing. Like the agent can't clear its own context window. So you kind of like, you need it at some point. Well, you can either do one of two things. You can just say, screw it, let the agent, like you can, so, okay, let me take a step back. If I wanted to, I could tell the project manager to dictate all the work to all the agents and parallelize them out and like do all that stuff. I could have it do everything that you're thinking about. I could have it do, right? The challenge is simply that the context window will continue to grow, right? At some point, I have to stop the like generation process and then clear the context window, right? Like what you really want it to do, well, kind of. I will say that I've seen the agent, so I have seen the project manager actually run Claude commands. I don't know, maybe, I don't know. You know what? I have no idea, dude. This is all new territory to me. You try it yourself. We could try it. I have no idea. I'm down to give it a shot. But like, I'm just showing you guys like how to get started. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to show you guys how to get started. I want you guys to experiment and play and like try all these things out and then come and tell me. You know what I mean? Okay, so what was beads? Bro, chat. Somebody in chat, tell me how many times I've already explained what beads is. Are you actually listening, M. Valdez, or do you have everything on mute? Like, Jesus Christ, I've explained what beads is like 4 times now. I had to step away. Let me know when you're not stepping away, and I will explain to you specifically what beads is. All right, I'll stop the entire class just for you. Hey, dude, no way. Okay, so chat, do you remember how I told you the ticket with request and OAuth would have a problem? Holy sh! It actually nailed it right on the head. So this is why I'm telling you, if you're not into AI yet, you need to get into it, because it is becoming more reliable like this. I knew that this was a problem. The reason why I know this is a problem is because if I go here, OAuth request. Yeah, there it is. There is a bug in the OAuth 2 request, which is basically request is not currently compatible. I knew about this. I knew about this bug before I ran the staff engineer agent on the ticket, right? So I let the project manager create the ticket, which is what it did, right? And then I let the staff engineer actually work on the ticket, right? Well, when it worked on the ticket, it sure enough found out that there was an issue because request 0.13 is incompatible with the newest version of it, right? So it's saying like, hey, what do you want to do? In this case, I do want to revert request and keep the HTTP update. Yeah. Okay, I will in a second, Mosh. I will in a second. Can I borrow BG to get the... Oh, yeah, okay. 1 second, chat. I have to get the crock pot. All right, I'm back. Yeah, so it's really crazy that it caught this. Like, I knew this was going to be a problem. I was very curious to see how it responded, and it kind of responded exactly the way I'd hoped. Why is this cool? Like, why would I rather have AI or an LLM do something like upgrading all of my packages rather than doing it myself? Well, one, it's annoying. I hate updating packages, so the fact that I can have it do it is nice. The debugging is super annoying. The fact that it hit this consistency just really made me very confident because it's like, okay, now I can have it debug and deal with all the crap I hate, and I can focus on the things that I like. So that's kind of a big reason why, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna say, all right, yeah, revert request and keep the HTTP update, which is, I nobody does it until it's so painful. Yeah, exactly. But now it's like, you know, I can trust the model to do it for me. You know, I'll have to review it, obviously. Like I don't think you should necessarily let an LLM run for hours and hours at an end. I think you have to guide it, and you kind of like, maybe the best way I can put it is maybe in the future there will be a job called like agent operator, right? And that's kind of like what we will become in a lot of ways. Is like, we will become the operators of these agents, and then you kind of build whatever the fuck you want. You know what I mean? And I think that will be really powerful, because then you won't be restricted by any language, any, like, you know, knowledge limitation. It's really just like, how good are you at creating things, you know? Like, I can guarantee you somebody who has never built software like this would not be able to get the LLM to do these kind of things. Like, you do have to have a good understanding of what you're doing, you know? Okay, so keep this staged. I always shake when Nick's like update, yeah. Okay, cool. So it's asking if I want to commit the changes. Should we do it, chat? Yeah, I think this is fine, honestly. I'll do what you said, Mosh, as well in a second. All right, just give me 2 seconds here. I'm gonna do it in this window here. I just want to see if I actually want to. Yeah, why not? I'll have it commit it. That seems like a good change. I didn't know if I actually wanted to commit it, but we'll commit it for now. If I need to, I'll just revert it. What was the command you said, by the way, Mosh? Let me see here. Try prompt. Okay, I'll do that. Cool. Okay, so now we completed an entire like workflow, right? So let me go back through that one more time just so that you understand what I did. Right, I opened up Claude, and then I said, hey, project manager, right? Plan some changes. Right, it planned those changes, and using beads created a list of tasks, which is everything you see here. Right, then what I did is I basically created a new session, and then I said, hey, staff engineer, right, work on the most available task. Right, and then it worked on that task, and it completed it, and then committed the changes and said, okay, what's the next thing you want me to do? Right. So now what I'm going to try doing is I'm going to try doing what Mosh recommended, which is saying, hey, use 5 staff engineer agents to work on 1 beads ticket each, and we'll say, and then report completion. Right. So this is where I myself have not really even delved deeply into this yet, but this is where you start dealing with like agent orchestration and saying like, hey, I want to be able to do a bunch of parallel tasks simultaneously. And when you have this kind of structure, like using beads, it is actually possible to do that, right? So let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. Again, I can't completely destroy my Vorpal repo, but it should be fine. I'll assign 5 task level tickets to the staff engineering agents working in parallel. Oh my god, dude. 3 staff engineer agents launched, 4 staff engineer agents launched, 5 staff engineer agents launched. There you go. I got 5 engineers working for me right now. Oh my god, dude, what the fuck? Oh, okay. When the sub agent has model Opus 4.5, you're destroying your budget. That's fine. I'll just use API. I don't really care that much. So I've never done this before. I've never actually. This is the first time I've ever done like, okay, agent update AWS SDK debs complete. It shouldn't be committing, is it? You know what? I don't see how that got updated. Is it actually? I don't know if it's actually updating anything because I'm not seeing any file changes. Can you have them hold a stand-up meeting? I guess if they're long running enough. It was talking about a permission issue to write. Okay, so that's probably what. All right, damn. All right, so we may have messed it up. I think we have to launch the agents with auto. Like, I think we have to have that on. What's up, Fallen? How's it going, dude? I bet you that's what happened. Control C to show tasks. To hide task to show tasks. Enter to view tasks. Okay. Interesting. I'm doing well, dude. Yeah, we are learning and experimenting with launching multiple agents with LLMs to do multiple tasks. So the problem is it's closing tasks it really shouldn't be. So I think what I'm gonna do, okay. gRPC stack. Okay, so use 5 at staff. Wait, what did we do again? On the last 5 tickets again, and make sure all files are updated. All right, so I'm gonna actually have it do it again, right? So I'm gonna have it run against the last 5 tickets again, right? I have accept edits on. So this is where like orchestration of multiple agents becomes kind of like weird. I'm pretty confident that it wasn't able to do it because I didn't have accept edits on. So it was like, well, we were able to get through it, but we weren't able to actually save it. So let me see if this works. Sounds like a real dev. I think this will work now. Yeah, there we go. Now they're getting updated. Don't know why. Oh, it's because I did that. Never mind. Okay, they're getting updated now. If sub-agents are not allowed to use a tool, the main agent will prompt you. I think it's a file permission issue. It shouldn't be. I was under the impression, let's see here. Local agents. So here's all my agents. Can I... Oh, I didn't mean to kill it. Oh, shit. This is why I don't like doing this. I'll relaunch it after the other agents complete. Okay, good. I don't like touching that shit, dude. I accidentally killed one of my workers. Oh, shit. See, you got to be careful, dude. You can't be hurting your workers like that. All right. It will also relaunch. Okay, cool. Made me think of that Pulp Fiction scene with the gun in the car. Yeah, right? Well, I didn't know it was loaded. This is, I mean, okay, so I will say this, like, this is definitely very cool. I definitely feel like even experimenting with this is giving me a lot of like power that I am excited to kind of like experiment with. And it actually makes me feel like I could orchestrate this a lot easier. I think beads is a really or just like giving, I think giving the agent the ability to create issues, which now that I'm doing that, okay, hold on. We're going to do something. I'm going to show you guys how I do some of these skills and stuff. And this is just going to be an example. All right. But hold on one second. All right. So here's what I want to do, chat. Here's what I want to do. Say I'm like, you know what? I would really like to make it so that I don't use beads. I use, you know, I don't know, linear, right? For example, first off, does linear have a CLI? Be cool if they did. I don't use them, but I believe you can have the sub agents set up your Git work trees as well. Oh yeah, I'm sure. I mean, yeah, I'm sure they can do anything. Okay, so we definitely got a lot of stuff updated. You can see the Go mod here got updated. Ross.toml and the SDKs got up. Like everything is getting updated now for sure. Yeah, and there we go. Those tickets are getting closed out now. What's up, Abby Knight? How's it going? So what I'm going to do really quickly is I actually have Claude desktop installed. And I'm going to say I am working with Claude code and would like to create should we do this? Yeah, this should be a skill. I wonder if we need multiple skills. Like maybe we need to like create a skill for creating tickets in linear. This is inspired from the project Beads, which is a task management system for coding agents. I know you can't see it, but I have Claude desktop installed on my system, which makes it so that I can just easily open up a prompt on my desktop like this. So now I'm going to hit enter, and then there we go. Yeah, of course. I've been using this more as well. I'll start by reading the skill creator guide. So here's what I'm kind of thinking, right? Is I'm wondering if I can take this project Beads and turn it into a bunch of skills, and then have my agents use those skills instead, right? So I'm effectively taking something that was written with code and turning it into prompts. Which is kind of crazy. If that's possible, that's actually kind of crazy. I'm gonna close this out really quickly. Yeah, I didn't think I had that. All right, let me just activate my shell really quickly. Looks neat, very raycast type of experience. Well, what's also cool with this is you can use co-work, and you can actually use code too. So co-work is their new like feature, which makes it so you can just run tasks on your system in general, like submit my expenses, find insights in files. Like this is just, you can run general tasks on your system with co-work. And then code is, this is connected to repos. So if I was just like, you know, go create a Claude MD in this repo, then I could just select either a local folder or something in GitHub, and then it'll go clone it and do all that stuff. So yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty nice. Paying for Claude, so I might, yeah, that's pretty much how I thought of it as well. Claude's response could not, oh, sorry, that's because I moved away from the window. Ah, okay, I messed up the thing. So let me try this again. Be valid. Okay, this seems like a bug, actually. So let me cancel out of that. Let me close that. It is like brand new, so I don't know how like buggy it is or not. Let me just open up a new chat. Check Discord PM. I will. Just give me a second. All right, Opus. Here we go. All right, I don't want to lose that, so we'll put that there. Okay, there we go. So now I have Go. Fantastic. So now I'm gonna do Claude resume so that I go back to that previous one, and then we will say run go mod tiny and cargo check to validate all changes so far are working. We'll say staff engineer. All right. What's this? Oh, nice. Thanks, Mosh. I just don't like how the desktop version takes away from the Claude tokens. ChatGPT and Codex are separate. Oh, does it? I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I pay $100 a month for Claude right now. Is anybody else as crazy as I am in paying for the Claude Max subscription? You have 2 Max accounts? God damn. That's crazy. Skill creator, guide for creating effective skills. This is a skill that should be used when users want to create a new skill. That's dope. All right. Yeah. So chat, Mosh just shared this with me. I'll share it with you guys. He has a skill for creating skills. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll definitely borrow that. You know what I'm saying? Cool. Okay. So there's a linear CLI, which is kind of interesting. You know what? I'm not gonna tell it how to connect to linear or anything. I'm just gonna say that. So okay, now let me create a core script for interacting with the linear API. Okay, so never mind. It's gonna create a script. Now let me write the skill.md. Nice. Oh, the linear MCP. That's a fair point, but it would mean that you would have to install the MCP on the system, whereas the skill would technically be completely portable. There is that. Dude, we're doing some pretty fun stuff here. Like, I think I'm going to be doing some more like AI productivity streams, because it's been something I've been like, I have to do this for my job. Like, I have to figure out ways to make like LLMs and stuff more like productive for us at work. So I think this is a good opportunity for me to kind of like kill 2 birds with 1 stone. We haven't started the agent yet, but maybe we'll just do that. We'll do that Friday or something. I don't know. Cool. Okay, so it created the skill for me, right? Let's just see what it says. So here's your linear ticket skill packaged and ready for Claude Code. Here's what it includes: scripts linear.sh, a Bash CLI wrapper around Linear's GraphQL API with commands for teams, states, projects, labels, and members, issue management, create, update, comment, view, list, and search. Okay, and all, dude, it did everything. Holy crap. I didn't actually think it was gonna do everything, but it actually did everything. It did all of the CRUD lifecycle. Okay, references, linear quick reference for priority mapping, state types. Nice. Okay, skill instructions that teach Claude Code when, how to use the tool, including beads inspired agent native patterns, To use it, you'll need to install the skill file in your Claude code directory, set the linear API key in your environment, optionally set the linear team ID and project ID. Dude, should we try this? Should we try this? The problem is all of my agents are set up for linear. So I guess I'd have to create like a new dashboard for it as well. That's crazy. I'll download it. That's actually bonkers that it did the entire thing. Can you install skills like on the actual Claude platform? Oh, I hate this song. Hang on, let me skip this song. Only local? Damn. I've heard Sonnet 5 was to be released today. Can't find anything official. I mean, if it was, it's not available yet. At least I can't see it. So, what's up, Clee, by the way? Okay, so I think there needs to be a little bit more nuance to this. And what I mean by that is like, how would it know which project the issues are for? You know what I'm saying? Like, one of the things that Beads is like kind of annoying with, and I'll go back to here really quickly. What you really want is you almost want like a beads per like branch, or really whatever scope that you want, right? Like, and the problem is that like if you have multiple branches and you use the same beads database, right, then if you have changes in one branch but in another you don't want those two to cross branches, you don't want those issues to appear. So you need a way of filtering, whether it be on the branch level. Yeah, I mean, I'm talking with beads, but like even project, right? Project really wouldn't be enough, because if I have a project, but I'm working in two separate branches, we need the LLM to know which tickets are for which branch, right? So I don't want to use this just yet, but it really is that easy. Like, you know, if you're asking yourself, let's go back to our chart really quickly. If you're asking yourself, like, how can I get started with prompts or tools or MCPs or skills or subagents? The reality of it is a lot of the stuff out there right now in like Claude, for example, can generate this stuff for you. All the skills you've seen me use today, all of the agents you've seen me use today, like all of that stuff you've basically seen through prompts that were generated through Claude directly. Like, I am not some not mathematician, some crazy like prompt magician. Like, I don't know anything about prompts like at all. I've just been using AI to help me write those prompts, right? So let's do this. Let me show you another thing here really quickly, because this has become fun. So I'm gonna open up Claude one more time from scratch. And we're gonna do the same thing again. We're gonna say, hey, use the staff engineer agent. Use 5 staff engineer agents to work on the last 5 tickets again. However, what we're gonna do is we're gonna tell the project manager to do that. So we're gonna say project manager, use 5 staff engineer agents. So the project manager agent is now going to fire off the staff engineer agents, and I'm gonna turn accept edits on. So I shouldn't get prompt for anything. All the edits should basically automatically work. You could have issue prefixes like Vorpal for the beads issues. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I know it could be done. It's just we'd have to think about it a little bit more, you know, how you could, like, what you might need to do is you might need to create like branches per like label or something, right? Or beads, you know, because like the problem is you can't change the prefix in linear. I don't know. We'll figure it. I'll figure it out. All right, so check it out. My project manager looked up the 5 tickets that were most available, and now it's telling each staff engineer to work on each one of those tasks. Pretty cool, huh? or Nix derivations for each project and integrate that. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not really big into the Nix world anymore. Okay, cool. So you can see we've got 3 tasks in progress that the agent's updated. I'm wondering if 2 are already done. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, 2 of them are already done. Nice. Oh, no, 1 of them are already done. My bad. What's up, Matthew? How's it going? That's so crazy. I'm definitely going to be using, I'm 100% going to be running multiple agents in parallel now that I know I can do this. So how does this work? Does it just use a get work tree to create its own branch? I mean, there's a few nuances going on here, right? For starters, I'm using Claude Code. Let me go back to here really quickly. So I'm using Claude Code to do all of this. Right, so I'm using Claude Code to give it prompts. I'm using Claude Code to run tools. I'm using Claude Code to work with MCPs. I'm using Claude Code to use skills, and I'm using Claude Code to use subagents. So all of this is being done in Claude Code. Right, that's the first thing. So then what I did was I made some skills that were unique to like things I wanted the coding agent to be able to do. Right, once I made those skills, then I wrote agents or subagents to act in specific ways. So I made a project manager, and then I made, oh, okay, I'll wait for the ads. I'll wait for ads. Oh, I think we got them all. Oh, snap. Yeah, it looks like we got everything. Cool. Okay. I will say it doesn't seem like we've actually ran cargo check yet. So run Vorpal services locally. Okay. So let's do this. I'm going to do /clear, and then I'm going to say project manager have use the staff engineer agent to complete the last task. What's up, 715? Okay, so for everyone just getting back from ads wondering how I'm doing everything I'm doing, the easiest way to put it is I've basically created my own software development team workflow with Claude, right? I've made skills that are like domain unique to my organization, right? Being able to do things like end-to-end tests and stuff like that, which is what it's doing now, right? And then I've also made agents which like basically satisfy specific roles within my organization, like staff engineers and project managers, right? And then I'm kind of using Claude as like an orchestrator with all of this, where I'm telling the project manager role or agent, hey, I want you to work directly with the task or issue management system to take work, right? And then break it down into individual tasks that developers can work on. And that's really what, when I do like BD list and you see this like task right here, this is that issue tracking system that the AI is using, not me. I'm not using this. I'm not creating these tickets. I'm not doing any of this. None of this is being created by me. I'm simply telling the project manager what I want it to work on. And then the project manager with the staff engineer agent, they work together. The project manager will basically spawn staff engineer agents when it needs to like ask questions and stuff like that. So you see here this, I'll spawn a staff engineer agent to complete this integration test task, right? So it knows when to spawn stuff or when I tell it to spawn stuff, you know, and then act as another role, right? And so, yeah, I'm using beads as the issue management system, right? But we were working on a proof of concept saying like, you know, theoretically the issue management system could be anything. It could be beads, it could be Jira, it could be, you know, linear. It just needs to know like how to create tickets and all that kind of stuff. So once we have these tasks, right, like once we actually have these tasks in a task system, then I can go back to Claude and in parallel say like, hey, Claude, I want you to use 5 staff engineer agents to work on, you know, 5 tickets. And then because the work has been thought about and sectioned in a way to where, you know, multiple developers should be able to work on them simultaneously. And it does have blockers. Like there are blockers that are included with this as well, so that you understand which tickets are blocked by which, right? That whole planning process makes it so that then you can just like parallelize out, and, you know, like realistically, if I wanted to, I could spawn 100 agents, you know, 100 staff engineer agents, and then have it work on all those tickets, right? So yeah, I feel like running a bunch of sub agents would get you rate limited pretty quickly, especially on a $20 Claude Pro sub. Are people really spending $100 a month for personal stuff now if work pays for it? So I will say I am in a unique position because the money I'm using is from the stream. It's from you guys, as well as like all the stuff, as well as like all the stuff that, you know, residuals from like, you know, the courses and whatnot. Like I don't make money off of the stream at all. None of this money goes to me. It basically goes into a place where we can play together. So right now I am paying the $100 a month for the max subscription to Claude, or the stream is paying for it. We'll see how long I keep that subscription, because it is expensive, but the benefit here is it's literally saving me time. Like I'm able to stream, I'm able to show you guys all this cool stuff and have like a separate like, so this is kind of money coming back in, right? Because now I can entertain and I can show you guys really cool stuff, right? So I don't know, it's kind of how I look at it, but again, it's a unique experience for me because I have a way of like returning the investment, I guess is what I mean to say. If you're just burning $100 a month on projects that are really not giving you any kind of return, yeah, I don't know, that's up to you. Do you still code manually sometimes? How do you keep your core skills in check? I stopped caring so much about technicals and started caring more about like architecture, design, practices, standards, implementation, not so much implementation, but everything around it. I started focusing on that a lot more. You ask me, how do I keep my core skills in check? I would argue that now my core skills in the sense of like programming are the LLM. Right, like if I tell it like, hey, write this in Go, at some point the LLM's probably going to get better than me at writing Go if I'm not programming as much, right? One would hope that that's good code, but the trade-off here is I know what good code looks like, right? And so I'm kind of using that as a way to keep myself fresh. Is I'm not writing the code, but I'm writing the reviews. And so if I look at the code and I'm like, ooh, I don't really like that, you know what I mean? That's kind of what that's what kind of keeps me fresh, you know what I mean? But sometimes I'll still write stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I will say that like I just feel like things are going to change, you know? But if you don't know Go, how can you make sure it's a good that's the thing. It's possible. Lpol, dude, I've been doing this for over 10 years. Like I've worked with a lot of languages. I've been able to see, like, if you have a function that's like 400 lines, that's a red flag. You know what I mean? In any language, that's going to be a red flag. If you have a function that has like a ton of parameters, that's going to be a red flag, right? There's like stuff that you can see that will kind of be like, that will stand out and you'll go like, oh, okay, like I get it. But you're not entirely wrong. You know, it will be a balance, I think. I don't want you to think I don't code at all. You know what I mean? I do. But a lot of the stuff I'm working on, it makes more sense for me to do it this way than spending the time to code, as weird as that sounds. Okay, so we're still working on that one. I am kind of curious about what exactly is going on here. We're waiting for the start ran, I think. I just don't know. Like, I don't see the, you know what? I only see the start command, actually. I wonder what happens if I... So this is where, like, stuff is, you know... There we go. Okay. Wait. I don't know. I get what you mean. I'm in a similar boat, but by using AI long-term, you're losing what you made, hireable knowledge. I think... I don't disagree with you, but here's what I will say. The plane may change. I'm not saying it's going to. I don't know. But I guess what I'm trying to say is like, what if in the future people aren't interviewing you for knowing a specific language, but knowing how to write prompts? Right? Like that could be the case, right? I guess what I mean to say is there might be like two paths now. There might be one path, which is you know how to write that code super, super well, right? And you go the old school, like you're just a really good, you know, Rust developer or whatever, right? Or you can prompt good enough to where you can be the equivalent in productivity as somebody at that level, but you use prompts to do it, you know? That is possible. I hate to, like, dude, I know somebody out there's gonna be like, no, but like, yes, that's possible. It's very possible that the LLM could fill the gap between that expertise and, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I definitely think that's possible. And then sure, you'll have like a general like understanding of stuff, but I think it will become more architectural, which is like, again, what I'm doing with like planning tasks and like telling, you know, like project manager, like that's why I'm able to build stuff like this, is because I know how it works in the real world. And so I apply the real world practices and standards to what I'm doing. Right. And so what's kind of crazy is while I was talking to you guys this whole time, I, in a real world scenario, showed you guys how you can, you know, run agents in parallel and all this orchestration. Like I basically was working while simultaneously talking to you guys, if you kind of think about it, right? Like, because I was able to, you know, do all the orchestration and everything, I had my project manager, you know, plan out the whole process, and then I had my staff engineers work on it while I was talking to you. So that's pretty powerful. Like that's pretty crazy, you know? You know how to do it because you did it manually in the past. This is the whole point. Yeah, I don't disagree, but I think like what you're missing, L polls, is like there's gonna be like a trend. Like think about like technology every 100 years. Like at some point those people die. Like I hate to put it that way, but like so at some point those people die. Like we know everything we know because of the, you know, shoulders of the people of the past, right? So there will become a point where everybody who's alive right now making all these innovations and everything, they will become like the foundation of knowledge, and that foundation of knowledge gets lifted, right? And it's the same thing. Like back when I was a kid, the foundation of knowledge for computers was like fucking nothing, right? But now that foundation of knowledge is way higher, right? And so that it's going to keep going up and up and up and up to a point where like you may not know that, you know, you may not think about it, but there may be a point where we don't even need to there may be a point where we never have to write code. That you, like right now we use code, but think of code as being like assembly. None of you motherfuckers write assembly anymore. Like who out here actually writes assembly relevantly for a job? But think of like LLMs as the new layer above programming languages, where like we may not even need to use programming languages anymore. It may just become the LLMs that use it, and they get, you know, like it just kind of gets absorbed into that layer instead of us working with that layer, just like assembly and code. Like, no, again, if you don't know what assembly is, it's basically the language that all compilers use. Most of them, at least. But, you know, nobody really thinks about assembly or the fact that it's there because it's so hidden underneath everything else, right? And so it is very possible that in the future, LLMs will hide the programming language layer, right? And then you'll work through the LLMs to do that. Are you talking about the Idiocracy plot? No. But it does feel like that sometimes, doesn't it? It's a force multiplier for those that have the experience. For people that don't, yeah, exactly. Yes, I fully agree that it is a force multiplier for somebody like me. Yeah, agreed. But I, like, that's why I also do these streams, is so that I can show you guys, you know, what that looks like, and you can kind of get an idea of it yourself, you know? If I do cargo update, yeah, and like everything's updated, dude. Like it did do exactly what it said it was gonna do. Like everything got updated. You'll notice that all the versions are updated as well. Like, we're not, you know, we didn't like go to, you know, like ranges. They're all hard coded still to the versions. Like it did a good job. Like I'm genuinely kind of starting to think maybe I might, I wonder how hard it is to run Claude in CI. Dude, like, you might be able to literally replace Renovate with just a Claude subscription. Like, it's kind of crazy. But yeah, no, this is very cool. This is very cool. And like I said, it was able to plan that whole process out and do everything, right? So we'll say stop all background processes. I agree. I like analogizing. I can't say that word. Analogizing AI to the industrial revolution. Oh yeah. Like an analogy. Analogizing. Is that? Dude, I've never said that before. AI to the industrial revolution. Farmers don't need to know how to operate a sickle. They need to know how to operate a combine. Yeah, Penguin. I think you're totally right, dude. Yeah. Like, I fully agree with that. Yeah. It's a bit of nostalgia because analogous. I think it's analogous. Yeah. I think. Yeah. I think the word you're looking for is analogous. It's a bit of nostalgia because I really enjoyed manual coding and don't like this new PM architect role. Just waiting for prompts. There's no fun. So you know what though, dude? Lpol. I'm exactly the opposite. Going to be a few minutes late. I'm just telling my coworkers I'm going to be a few minutes late to planning. For me, it's the exact opposite. I actually really like building things that I can play with and like learn with, you know what I mean? So for me, like the coding part, like, it's fun to build. I don't disagree. It's fun to like the vision equally satisfying when it's like, okay, this is how I envision this to happen, and this is how I want to, like, being able to bring the vision to life is what I've kind of fallen in love with, you know. And the management around it, you know. I will say that, like, management of you know, agents and all that stuff has become a new and interesting challenge, you know, and they are getting more dependable, which means that you can build more tooling around them, like a lot of the stuff I showed you today. Again, so chat, let's go over everything one more time. We have coding agents, right? These coding agents allow us to give them prompts, allow us to create them tools, allow us to create them MCPs that run tools, allow us to create skills, allow us to create sub agents that really kind of allow you to have in one CLI a complete development ecosystem and development team, right? I showed you guys how with Claude I can have skills, right? And you could see, you know, things like end-to-end testing and SDK parity for specific things to my repo, or user skills like a code review or a commit that, you know, everything everything uses. And then I also have agents where, again, I have like a project manager that handles all of my project management, you know, scheduling or creating tasks and delegating those tasks off to our staff engineer agent, right? So it's not just about giving prompts anymore. You know, now it's really becoming like, how do you build these context windows to do specific things, and then give the instructions to those context windows so that you can scale out, you know, and have a bunch of tasks. And so, you know, that's how we were able to do, like, you know, use 5 staff engineers to work on 5 projects simultaneously. I do need to work on creating a code or an agent for work. And I do want to work on that on stream. We were supposed to do it today, but today kind of became more of like an overview of everything we're using and how we're using it. So that was good. I'm really excited about that. Maybe I can see if I can make a YouTube video out of this so that you guys can kind of have like a high level view at least of where my mind is right now. Now, again, all of this is like in process. Like it's constantly changing and evolving, whether it be, you know, the features that LLMs can use, like tools, MCPs, skills, or whatever, or all the things that I'm trying to learn. You know, like today, one of the things that I was really excited about learning was the multiple agents, you know, orchestration, where you can go into Claude and say, you know, use, 10 staff engineers to handle the latest issues in Jira, right? And then bam, it'll create 10 staff agents, go out to Jira, get those tickets, and then start working on them. So I'm gonna start experimenting with that more, as well as more agents and having agents work with other things and skills. I think right now I'm mostly interested in skills and agents and kind of how to glue those two together so that you can get really good results from them. But like I said, even while talking, we were able to do a real life example. So by the way, check the second paragraph. The second paragraph? Second phrase. Just curious, did you share the staff agent skill? I haven't yet. Let me do a quick poll. Should I share my agents and skills? Yes. Nah. All right. I just want to do a poll really quickly to see how many of you are actually interested in me doing it. It's just like whenever I manage a repo, I have to put time and energy into it, you know. So if it's something that you guys want to see, like, you know, basically all of the agents and stuff, you know, available online, then I'm totally down to do it. I have to figure out how to give it to you in a way where I can automate it myself. So, okay. It looks like a lot of you guys want me to do it. All right. If it's at least 7, that's a pretty good amount. 8. Okay. All right. I hear you. So Abby, no, not yet. But here's what I will say. What is your Discord? If you're not in the channel, or if you're not, please join the Discord. We'd love to have you in there. There is an AI channel in the Discord where I talk about like stuff I'm working on, and other people talk about what they're working on too. So if you want to be around that conversation, please be sure to, you know, join the Discord. Also, what is your YouTube? If you want to, check out the YouTube. You know, whenever I get a chance to upload some videos and stuff like that, or again, I stream live on the main channel, be sure to subscribe to both of the YouTubes, as well as what is the blog. We do have an engineering blog too, so if you're curious about any of the articles on there, check that out too. But yeah, I'll do that. That's a pretty big response. I wasn't expecting that, so that's awesome. I'm excited that you guys are excited about it. Maybe we'll do more streams. I've seen the light. Have you seen the light? What's up, Mr. Demon Wolf? Each sub agent. Are you talking about this one or this one? Each subagent runs in its own context window with a custom system prompt, specific tool access, and independent permissions. When Claude encounters a task that matches a subagent's description, it delegates to the subagent, which works independently and returns results. Okay, that's cool. Generate with Claude. Oh, that's cool. Select create new agent, then choose user level. In Claude, oh, you can actually create agents directly in Claude. That's cool. I didn't know you could do that. I'll have to try that as well. The first one. So no manual context windows clearing. Oh, okay. Okay, so interesting. So basically each agent has its own context window is what you're saying, right? And then that context window gets closed the moment the agent goes away. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is dope. All right, so chat, tell you what, I think we might be doing a little bit more AI stuff while we're like, I think I'm going to start using AI more on stream is what I mean to say. Because again, it's something that's been really powerful and something I've been trying to get better at. And I have seen good results. Like I have really seen good results. So I will work on figuring out how to share my agents and skills with you guys. Even if you guys can help me improve them, would love that as well. But yeah, I will figure out a way to do that. And then yeah, Friday, I'll be back Friday. Remember, I stream Wednesdays and Fridays. I've been gone for a couple weeks, so it's all good. No worries. I am here. I'm doing all right. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. All the subs and resubs. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Can I show you something? Can you send it to me in the Discord, Mr. Demon Wolf? Because I gotta go. I am late for a meeting already, and I don't need people getting mad at me because I was talking about AI stuff. But yeah, we're gonna go on a little bit of an AI adventure together, chat. And I think this will be a really cool learning experience for both of us. So join the Discord. I'll see you guys Friday. Like I said, we'll be doing more AI stuff Friday. So I'll see you guys then. Have a great rest of your week. Peace out. Love you guys. Bye.